Good afternoon, everyone. We should be live on YouTube now. And yes, we are live on Facebook as well. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a delay. Apologies for that. And thank you for bearing with us. So this is the first time. Thanks, Cindy. I did get your message, but I was just like being really flustery and was like, it's not working. I've set it up right. Why is it not working? But as always, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. I did set it up wrong. So there we go. It's never not going to be a thing with me, unfortunately. So setting it up wrong. So we're here. Let me defluster for a minute. It's yeah, it's good to see everyone. So this is the first time in a while that we've gone live on YouTube. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on different comments and hopefully can keep up with everyone, and everyone's going to get the notification that we've gone live as well. Brilliant. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. So it's working on YouTube. Hooray. That's that's quite a good thing. And let's see if we're live. So yeah, Jay says well, hi Jay, just let us know if everyone can see and hear us okay. So thanks, Jonny. I was going to say, if you do the at everyone, I think that would be really helpful. Okay, so right, we've got YouTube and we've got Facebook. So depending on what is your preferred viewing opportunity, then you can watch us on that. So I think, Jonny, we're going to continue to try and stream back on YouTube now moving forward, aren't we? After the issues with the live streaming on Facebook.
Yeah, I think so. We can see the comments easier that way, so we can see who's making comments, so easier to respond and easier to interact for sure.
Yes, unless you're flipping between 3 different screens, which I currently am. So I'm just going to go into the comments on my phone. Actually, that'll be easier. That means I can stay on here. Obviously, it's been a while since we've been live on YouTube, guys. So I'm sure that there's some new people that are going to be joining that haven't ordinarily seen the Beyond the Buy Box live because we stopped streaming it on YouTube to do it exclusively in the Facebook group. But like I said, we've chosen to make the decision to come back live on Facebook due to the issues with regards to live streaming on Facebook. Nothing to do with me. It was Facebook themselves that put a little bit of a change to that. So good to see everyone's here. We've got quite a few people jumping on, so I'll keep an eye on all of the comments, and if you've got any questions or anything as we go through, let them know. We want this to be as interactive as possible and answer as many questions and talk through discussion points with you guys as much as possible, because like some of the stuff we're going to talk about today, it's gonna have an impact on everyone. There's no one that isn't going to be unaffected. We've got Alison have joined us, Mark, Waleed, big fan, appreciate it, big fan back. Steve says loud and clear on Facebook. That's good. The tension, yeah, it was. Honestly, I do start to panic with that sort of thing for sure. So good to see everyone. So yes, things we're going to talk about today on today's live. So it's been a while since Jonny and I have been on a live together anyway, due to various globe trotting and holidays and busy Amazon life, of course. So the things that we're going to cover today are, I want to try and get back to covering, not just one thing per session. Sometimes it's needed, but I want to try and discuss a few different things, especially things that are hot topics within the Facebook groups, within the communities. Obviously, the biggest hot topic at the moment is the updates and changes that are coming to the UK, Europe, and everyone from the 1st of August. Then I want to discuss a little bit about Jonny's Shopify success, because you kind of put out a very tantalizing bit of a clickbaity post yesterday, to be honest. Let's be honest, Jonny, that sort of showed off your sales. And there was quite a few people kind of asking about that in terms of what you're doing to achieve that. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to go through that. And then also just to get a general sort of feel about how people are feeling at the moment. It does feel some people are a little bit down in the dumps with sales. So I wanted to take the opportunity just to talk about, opportunity of maybe selling in the US. I'm not saying ditch the UK and concentrate on that. But obviously, a lot of sellers have made that transition over the last couple of years, and we do have an opportunity where we're showing people how to do that at the moment. And so I want to discuss that and see if anyone's particularly interested. Then we can obviously discuss it a little bit further. So it's good to have everyone here. We've got loads of people jumping on. Great to see you guys. Thanks for joining us. Let's jump into YouTube first of all. So Sean says VAT changes for seller. Government change VAT if Labour wins within the next months. Yes, I mean, I think it's important to say anything that with regards to it won't change what's happening on Amazon and Amazon's collection of that. You know, nobody's going to abolish that. I think everybody could probably agree with me on that. I don't think that's ever going to get abolished. Well, certainly not in the next election. So there is a possibility that things like this, percentages may change, circumstances may change, or whatever, you know, especially when we're coming into a period of a change of government. But ultimately, that's not going to be going anywhere. Value added tax is going to remain. And it's quite interesting. I think in my whole lifetime, in my some nearly 43 years, or the time that I'm certainly aware of that, it's actually always remained, and it's only ever changed by 5%. That's
Yeah, I
quite a
think
long time to keep a policy, right?
yeah, I think Labour, Conservatives, and Lib Dems have all pledged not to raise VAT, which is good news as well. So they've all promised not to raise it. So I don't think we've got to worry about that. Although
Yeah.
it'd be an election cycle, and if Labour get in, who knows what's going to happen to businesses. Some of the stuff they've got planned are pretty crazy, pretty damaging for small businesses. So, you know,
Do you know what? It's one of those things, and I'm going to get shot down for saying this. I really, really am. But it's who I am. It's how I cope, and I think it really has contributed to my 20 odd years nearly in business. In having this kind of attitude. So yeah, how do I word this without upsetting people? So what I'm going to say is I kind of don't look into that stuff in too much detail, because obviously things change all the time. Policies change, governments change. And what actually gets said and done in, you know, in manifestos, in elections, and, you know, even if it is in the solid manifesto, when it's done, then what actually gets implemented can be two different things. Policies get scrapped, you know, things like that. So I really do think, and what can we do to change it? Nothing. Again, this is the part I think I was going to get shot down for, because like, oh, we should stand up for this and we should do that, and yeah, that's right. But at the same time, what can little old me do to impact on this? Nothing. All I can do is work on my output. So that's how I tend to focus on it. Produce more, create more, look at more opportunities. What's going to be doing, you know, how can I create more revenue? How can I create more margin? How can I create more profit in my business? Can I streamline my business to take into account if there are going to be these sort of changes? I can only do what I can do. And so I tend to not look too deeply into those sort of things, if that makes sense.
it's kind of been something I've been repeating in all my weekly meetings with
I
my
haven't been
team.
here, so I
So
didn't hear that.
yeah, where obviously there's been a lot of changes on Amazon recently. You know, buy box percentage, lending going away, harder to get lending, and I just keep saying, you know, it's, you know, we can only do what we can control, and you know, we can only measure our output if our sales drop by 10%, because the buy box percentage change. There's nothing really we can do without sacrificing a lot of margin, right? So I always say, like, look, we're doing as the best of our ability, and I think that's always the key message. And like you said, always looking for different ways, different revenue streams. You know, Amazon USA, you know, Shopify, eBay, etc., to try and mitigate those changes. And that's why, you know, business doesn't stop, does it? You always have to evolve
Mhm.
and think of a new way to generate sales. So some big changes. Yeah, it's just been a difficult month, I think, for a lot of people, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to address that as well, you know, from the buy box percentage thing. And And I did think about including that as a specific subject to talk about today, because I know it has affected people across the board. But at the same time, it's also one of those changes. I could be wrong, but it is also one of those changes that I actually don't think there's much you can kind of do about it as it stands at the moment. So why spend half an hour focusing on something to just turn around and say, look, we know I'd rather acknowledge it and say, look, we know it's happened. Everybody's in the same, and it's one of those situations, everybody's in the same boat with this as well. It's not like it's affected some sellers and hasn't affected others. But what I will say is this is the sort of policy that certainly doesn't affect bundle sellers and things like that. So again, it's coming back to what we spoke about just a few minutes ago. Try and make yourself un you know kind of breakable as possible. I think that's the most important thing that people have to focus on. It's not about moaning about what's happening or trying to prevent changes that you have no control over. It's really about making yourself and your business as unbreakable as possible, and ensuring that you don't do just the one thing in your business. And this is very contradictory advice. Even I know I say that as the words come out of my mouth, because you end up saying, right, you need laser focus and you have got to focus on one thing. But Amazon can be your one thing. Amazon, if you play it right, is safe enough to be, or, is safe enough to be able to protect you whilst you are, creating other income streams outside of Amazon. There is a way to do it. And again, I know certain people might be watching this and thinking, well, I've seen people have been suspended and been deactivated in all the marketplaces. And yes, absolutely. But, there's always a risk. I can't lie. If I was to give it a score out of 10, selling on Amazon, it would probably be like a 90 or a 93 or something like that. I cannot categorically say that you can 100% protect yourself, because you can't. It's as simple as that.
It's the same with every business.
Mhm.
My father was in printed circuit boards for 40 years and did really well for 35 years. But in the last 5 years before he retired, all the work went across to Eastern Europe and China as they started to obviously increase their manufacturing. And what seems like overnight, they lost a lot of their sales because people are like, well, I'm just going to get this manufactured in Eastern Europe and China because it's a lot cheaper. Things always change. And the classic example, stuff like Blockbuster, isn't it, where
Mhm.
Netflix comes in and overnight Blockbuster just ceases to exist because it just comes redundant. But I think there's always a risk. And yeah, I guess you know Amazon's you're relying on Amazon to build your business. It is tough. It is tough. But I've been suspended for 4 months before when I first started, for 4 months during my first Q4.
Mhm.
Again, it's just persistence, and as long as you haven't done anything crazy wrong, you should be able to get that account back eventually, unless it's very serious. I don't know any cases where people have been suspended and not got back when it's
Yeah.
been not serious. If there's an example, then it'd be good to know so we can sort of, yeah.
Well, it is, and I think it's difficult because I do not believe in a permanent deactivation. I believe even in the worst circumstances, and I've seen people get their account back. I've actually seen people get their account back on counterfeit, on manipulation of invoices, all of the what are considered to be the worst. Never anything like, paraphernalia of selling any drugs or anything like that. I mean, obviously, I think that would be a different scenario. I don't believe that there is such a thing as a permanent deactivation. I believe that it comes down to the person whose account it is and their tenacity and their resilience, to be perfectly honest. And again, I feel like I'm being controversial today, guys. I really do feel I'm being a bit controversial, but it is true. And when I say to people, and they're saying, yeah, but it's impossible to fix. It's this, it's that, it's whatever. And I understand that narrative. I really, really do, because it can feel like that. But there's no time limit. So the manipulation of or fraudulent invoices, the one that I saw, it took them 3 years to get their account back, but they didn't give up. So it's just when I say that, what I mean by that is I don't believe in a permanent suspension for, and this person emailed every single month for 3 years. For 3 years, the resilience that requires, or every time they got a rejection, they put one back. Every time they got a rejection, they put one back. So from that point of view, there's not many people I think would chase it for 3 years. Or was it 2 years or 3 years? I can't remember. It was in years, put it like that. So in that scenario, maybe they just got the right person on the wrong, the right day. But what I'm saying is there's no such thing as a permanent deactivation. It's, I think, the resilience of the person and how long they last doing it, which, by the way, I'm not criticizing anyone for giving up, because it is soul destroying, absolutely, dealing with something like that. But when I say that, I mean it's just not on your timeline. What is an acceptable timeline? For us, we would think, okay, maybe 2 weeks, 4 weeks to put through a couple of plan of actions, check, apologize, sacrifice, your kids to the Amazon gods or something like that. What is an acceptable time? Just because it's acceptable to us, unfortunately, it's Amazon's playground, and they will determine that timeline. And that's what you kind of sign up for. When you, and this is speaking to someone who has been deactivated, who has lost multiple 5 figures plus due to deactivations, section 3s, things like that. So it's not like I'm sat here on my soapbox saying, oh, do this, do that. I've lost thousands and thousands of pounds as a result of these type of policies. But at the same time, when I got my account back, I sort of didn't even not consider selling on Amazon. It kind of overtakes you, if you know what I mean. It overtakes once you get it back, it kind of overtakes all the bad feeling. So from that point of view, we just have to say, just carry on, go forward. You can't protect yourself 100%. And again, I would be misleading if I didn't say it. Jonny's the same. We do not rely on Amazon entirely. It contributes. I always say I could stop everything else and I could live a very nice life just on selling on Amazon. But at the same time, from my own point of view, I've built additional income streams around Amazon and off Amazon, because I've been burned in the past. Nearly lost a home over it previously, years and years ago, because I was relying on one income stream. So I also don't want anyone to think that we're sat here being hypocrites saying that as well either, because we do have other income streams.
Yeah. I think there's also, it's worth mentioning, there's account health assurance these days, right, as well, which just came into place, which should safeguard you against any suspension, right? As far as I'm aware, has anyone ever been suspended if they had that? I don't know. It'd be nice to hear if anyone has, or is that a sure thing to not get suspended? I haven't read.
Conveniently, Jonny, you should tune into Hive Live tonight, because that's what the session's all about tonight.
Well, I'm co-hosting.
So
I'll be there.
It's good to know. So yes, technically how it works is it's a 3-day window. You've got 3 days to sort out whatever the issue is, and it's a compounding effect. It's something that, unless something critical comes in, which is the highest level of violation, then the majority of time, if you have account health assurance, you should be given the opportunity to sort it out. But it doesn't necessarily mean it will save you from deactivation. It gives you an opportunity to prevent you from deactivation. So yes, I have seen people be deactivated with account health assurance. But it's one of those things that, especially if it's a critical event and Amazon don't believe you, then you could end up in a deactivation situation for sure. But protect yourself. If you're selling in the UK and the US, it means you can swap operations to one of the other, because if you work it right and you don't just put all your eggs in a USA or a UK basket, then your business will be able to continue on in another marketplace, because that will have Amazon account health assurance. What I have seen time and time again is people in particular transfer to the US market, give up on their UK business, shut that down, and kind of leave their account open in the hope that if something happens to their US account or this works vice versa. And I've got people that do this in Europe, in the UK and US as well. But in the hope that people, that you will be able to just switch over. But if the other account is not active and it is not above the 250 score, which you need sales to be able to have that, you have to have a certain amount of sales in X amount of time in order to maintain that, as well as all of the other metrics, which, by the way, I'm not sure if anyone's aware, that account health score is not just to do with IP. It's not just to do with sales. It monitors and is a reflection of every single metric on your Amazon account and what Amazon deemed to be acceptable performance targets as well. So from that point of view, if you are not keeping up with one of the accounts, as soon as you try and log back in, if you are suspended in the other account, it's just going to wipe out the other one as well. So you have to maintain, and it's a big juggling act. There's no doubt about it. You have to maintain. If you don't want to be left up, the stream without a paddle, then you definitely have to maintain a good level of business in both marketplaces. We've ended up sort of talking about the US first, but yeah, we sort of headed onto there. And I think, Jonny and I always try and be aware of what people are talking about. And by the way, I heard today, actually, there's a new wave of Section 3s, by the way, coming through for the US, which is really new news, not something I've experienced as well, not me personally, but I've not personally seen it, but I've heard from a couple of people that a new wave, and it is the start of the second quarter of the month, so maybe this is around the sort of time when they sort of go fish and send them out. I don't know. I think I gave up trying to work out what Amazon's rhyme and reason is a long time ago.
The Hive is a group of online sellers. We specialize in Amazon. We're a network, we're a community, and we're all about bringing success to everybody through expert content and resources that you just can't get anywhere else.
The Hive has SOPs, documentation, short videos, clips, long form videos, over the shoulder videos. It has everything you need.
Both for beginners and advanced sellers.
I mean, I probably thought that I knew quite a lot about the selling on Amazon in general, but then when I joined the Hive, it was almost like I only knew 10%.
We keep everything so up to date knowledge, up to date strategies.
Natalie, Matt and Jonny will just explain how it works in normal English.
The best part of being in the Hive is a community.
Any question you have, you can put it in the Hive.
And you can get just problem solved so fast.
You can ask a question, there's an answer there within 5 minutes.
We are confident that you are receiving the best level of content out of any training and resource group in the world.
Yeah. And speaking of America, our first box just arrived in Philadelphia. So I was just checking the tracking. So yeah, Natalie's been helping me with our US side of the business. So
Yes.
Also we're launching in the US as well. Natalie sort of guided me through that. So
It's a little bit like I saw Luke's joined us, Luke Dugan. Hopefully he's still watching. Hi, Luke. Good to see you. And hi, everyone else. We'll come back to the comments in a minute anyway as well. But I think it's like I've been telling Jonny, right, you need to sell in the US. Like I said to Luke, you need to get on bundles, such and such. You need to do this, you need to do that. So it's great when people actually do it. And I love seeing people's success. So I'll be really interested to see what your results are for that. I'm sure, no doubt, they will be posted. So let's just quickly have a look on the comments. Pardeep said, my account got deactivated on the 2nd of June due to a parallel import. Health score dropped by 20. Luckily, we retrieved it. Yeah. And you know what? And again, I don't mind talking about this because it just so happened there is a session in the Hive tonight all about this. But I do believe there is certain information that shouldn't be gate kept and, is available to all. So I don't mind talking about it. But what I will say is definitely speed of reaction to those violations coming in very much is a key a key factor in your scores and how quickly the points recover. So as I understand it, the quicker you can respond and get it sorted, the quicker the points will come back and gain. And, you know, the quicker you have a chance to be able to get out of that, essentially. So, or retrieve it as much as possible. Ignoring violations is no longer an option, guys. So just to make that aware. I've had 2 account restriction policy restrictions on my account, which I just can't get removed. But every time it gets rejected, then a new appeal goes back in. We always want to make sure that there's a chance. And yesterday, no, not yesterday. What day is it? Oh, yeah, Tuesday. It must have been Friday or something. We noticed one of them had dropped off before the 180 days. So, but it also didn't get approved either. And what's interesting, it was supposed to be a low impact one that didn't have an impact, but all of a sudden we gained an extra 4 points. So it's a little bit of I don't believe some of the things that Amazon say when they say, oh, that has no impact. Well, clearly it has, because obviously that went through and got it sorted. But anyway, there we are. So yes. Oh, good. Glad to hear it helped anyway, Pardy. That's good. And I'm glad you've got it sorted. Sean says bundles are great, just annoying as someone is selling our acings on deal sheets and sellers are jumping on them as well, even when branded. Yeah, you've just got to stay on top of that as much as you possibly can. So, you know, keep an eye in the hive, Sean. There's some new information that's going to be coming that relates to that's going to give you as much protection as you can. But I know it's a bit of a bad joke, but like I always say, you know you made it when one of your bundles hits one of the deal sheets. So, but there's, you know, lazy people.
I think Natalie's frozen. That's interesting. Hope we're still live. Just comment quickly. I think the internet has cut off on that. Yeah. So nothing right about that. I'm just gonna say hi to people. Why? Well, it's Natalie frozen. Hopefully she'll be back on in a few secs.
Okay, are we back?
Natalie's back right now.
Oh,
Did you
didn't I?
freeze?
Was it me? Did I freeze?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like Elsa. Oh God, I'm gonna look back on the video and it's gonna be the most awful thumbnail of me like pulling the worst face being frozen. Yeah, if I pull my wire, no, I don't think I have. Normally, when I get in a rant, I'm sort of like throwing my arms all over the place. Okay, sorry about those technical issues today. Do you know what? I just noticed the bundle police got me. Yeah, that's what Mark said. The sirens were ringing. Now I'm back now. The sirens were blaring for me for sure.
Sure,
Right,
some brutes who chewed
have
on
I
one of the
frozen?
wires.
It looks like I'm frozen again. Have I frozen again?
You're still here. You're still here.
Okay, right, that's good. Right, let's get on and let's talk about let's talk about what we initially came on to talk about with the VAT updates. So first and foremost, I have done a video for Beyond the Buy Box YouTube channel. So probably as an overview of the whole situation. If you want to go and check out that video, I'm sure someone more enterprising than me will be able to pop the link in the comments, just so you guys can watch it. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoy it and do whatever you are, you know, whatever you do when you watch a Facebook video, but that gives a kind of overview of it. So what are people's thoughts on this? I think what was really interesting, I asked in the Facebook group last night in preparation for today's session, you know, what people's thoughts are, how they felt that it was going to impact people's businesses. So I wanted to kind of go through that and really get an understanding. I think I've got the kind of vibe of what people feel about the situation. But Jonny, I've done a lot of talking. So what are your thoughts on this? How do you think this is going to impact the majority of Amazon sellers?
Oh, I guess what the question is, what is the percentage of VAT registered versus non-VAT registered? I have a certain bias because I'm VAT registered, right? So
you like this? You like this update, right?
Well, for one element, I like it. So, you know, beauty stuff and anything, obviously 20% VAT is always, you always have a competitive disadvantage, sorry, versus the non-VAT registers. So, you know, 0% VAT was always king, right, in the UK for that reason. I think this kind of evens the playing field a little bit, but on the massive negative side is it's going to really affect cash flow, right? So adding 20% to the fees is going to again instantly take off your disbursements. So I don't know how much fees you're paying per month, but it's going to add another few grand off your disbursements every time. And in a world of, you know, in today's world where lending is not as available and the instant disbursements are going away soon, right? I think in a few months. It's going to really hurt cash flow again. And I think it's just been a few different hits to the cash flow on that side. I think it's Amazon across the board as well. So Amazon shipping are also going to add VAT as well. I think if you're a grocery seller, I think it's so important now to switch to a monthly VAT return. I think that is just absolutely essential if you're not doing that already. And yeah, I think you just need to plan ahead. You know, that's the key of cash flow these days. You really have to be very diligent about it. Plan, you know, multiple weeks ahead for these big bills, and it's got to be super, super almost passive in a way, don't you? With your spending on the weeks coming up to that, I'd say it's yeah, good and bad news, right? Yeah,
Oh,
it's good.
definitely. I think it's one of those things. It's in business, there are certain things that are not even. So it's good for everybody to be back on the same, and I say back on the same playing field, because obviously this is something that sellers below the VAT threshold have only been able to take advantage of for the last 2 or 3 years due to the mass communication that sellers were able to do this. You've always been able to do it, but you had to contact Amazon. It was only until it came out in a load of Facebook groups and the word spread and people started talking about it. So when I first started selling on Amazon, non-VAT registered sellers had to pay VAT on fees. You know, it was acceptable that you pay VAT on fees. And then the advantage and the extra incentive was when you get bigger, like Mark Penn said there, once you go over the 85,000, once you go into VAT registration, that was an incentive. So you were able to claim back those VAT on fees. Whereas, you know, it was being technically exempt from them due to reverse charge, which is no longer going to apply. So I'm not going to go into all the reasons why, because that's what the video I've already created for explains why this change and update has occurred. It's not nothing to do with, but first of all, you know, you got to love places like TikTok and, you know, maybe sellers that have not been selling for a long period of time and sort of like go down the route of, oh, this is to weed out all of the smaller sellers. It's absolutely not. Amazon does not think about that sort of thing. It's actually solving a really big problem for Amazon. The reason why they've done this to do with their VAT responsibilities in each country in which they're operating in. So it's not personal, guys. It is something that's going to affect people at different levels. I think since going through this, though, one of the things that I've actually realized, which when I first started posting about this and started talking about this, what was interesting was we had a load of people start saying, okay, well, it's not going to affect flat rate, it's not going to do this, it's not going to do that. And at the time I thought, okay, yeah, fair enough. But then when I started reading more and more comments, what people were putting, and I talk about this in the video, I actually realized that I could be wrong here. So if this is you, but I don't know if anyone's going to admit it, if this is you, as I understand it, I think some people have inadvertently been misusing the VAT exemption, because maybe if they are flat rate registered as opposed to standard registered, they maybe didn't think they needed to put in their VAT details, and maybe they're still operating on the exemption, which, just to make it clear, Amazon doesn't care if you are flat rate or your standard accounting. VAT registered is VAT registered. So if you are someone that has been taking advantage of being flat rate registered and also having the exemption, and now you're panicking because this is why you're going to lose, that's going to have a big impact on someone's business potentially, then yeah, I can see why people were panicking about that, but you shouldn't have been doing it in the first place. And I'm not blaming people saying you intentionally broke the rules or were evading tax or anything like that. But what I'm saying is it's yeah, you shouldn't have been doing it. And if you have, then and you get away with it, then you just got to look at it as a bonus kind of thing, if that makes sense. So yes, it sucks for new sellers, but the way I have to look at it is it's an incentive to push you through that VAT registration, which is always how we looked at it before. It was never looked at anything else other than it was an incentive. And then obviously you also get the extra addition of working in something like grocery and working towards that, where you can take advantage of zero, tax rate. Being a grocery seller below 85,000, unless you're selling bundles, is not a great place to be. Pardon?
Go up to 90,000, right?
Oh, has it gone up to 90? That proves how much I listen to the news. So 90,000. Yeah, okay, I need to check that. So but yeah, so from that point of view, you have to look at it as an incentive. Yes, it sucks, but it's not personal. Life is hard. Got to get over it, got to move forward. And you got to really, I think at this point, if you are someone that is below that registration and you are saying to yourself, this is going to ruin my business, I don't know if you really need to ask yourself if you should be in this space and if you want to put the effort in to push forward. And I know that sounds harsh, and I'm sorry, it doesn't, work with the TikTokers who are telling you how sexy and lovely this business is. But VAT registration is, it's a scary prospect, and I get that. But you got to be fully in it to push through it. It's as simple as that. You can't hang around that VAT registration period for sure.
On the bright side, they still have an edge, right? There's still an edge there. It's still more profitable if you buy at the same price as a VAT registered seller. You're selling 20% VAT. So the edge is still there. It's just not as large anymore. Previously, it was kind of ridiculous, but now it's evened it a little bit. Yeah. So
I think the biggest change that flat rate people are going to have, and normally I wouldn't advise people to VAT register or not VAT register, because again, I've heard some people saying, oh, well, should I VAT register early if I'm not VAT registered? No, I don't think that I would never consider registering early before VAT, because I still believe being registered for VAT, sorry, not deregistered, non-VAT registered, I still believe the benefits still probably outweigh that fee thing overall for your business at that stage, instead of registering early. But if you are flat rate registered, I see no option for this now for your business other than to switch to standard accounting.
yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, Sean said it's harder for new sellers and will grow at a slower rate. But yeah,
Yeah.
they can claim it back like we used to. Yeah. Remember, like we used to claim back thousands of pounds. It's a long time ago for you, I think, going to VAT registered. But
no, I was never a non-VAT registered seller. So we opened our Amazon account based on being a VAT registered seller. So I talk about in that video, when everyone took advantage of like PPI and everyone got a payback and a rebate, and there was me and Matt sat there because I'm pretty stringent on signing forms and things like that. So, or sorry, no, not on signing forms, on knowing what I'm paying for. So I was like, there's no insurance on that, is there? And so I always make sure. So whenever we did the claims for PPI, we never got a penny because we never paid it. Whereas it's the same with but then I got total FOMO when everyone else was getting all their rebates. And then it's the same with this. But yeah, so what I also say in the video is as well, which is important, if you are someone that's not been aware of any of this and you have been paying VAT on fees as a non-VAT registered seller, it doesn't change the fact that you can still apply for a rebate because you have overpaid any time between probably when you've started up until the 1st of August. So that rebate option is still going, that doesn't change for anybody that has been unaware of that period. So, but it was a good old payday when everyone got it. I think the maximum I saw for someone I helped with was like £57,000 someone got back. It was a huge amount. You know, just imagine that like dropping into your business, not expecting it in any way, shape, or form. So, but yeah, that was a good day for them for sure.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah.
And then finally, the last part of that is VAT registered people. So how is it going to affect them? Yes, cash flow is going to be the biggest thing. The way that I personally see it is the bigger seller you are, the most immediate cash flow impact it's going to have on you. So if you're 7 figures plus, and someone put a comment and they said, which is absolutely right, if your fees are £2,000, approximately another 20%, 400 would be added on top of what you're paying out. And this is something that you can't, this comes out of disbursements. So it's not like you can mitigate that and say, okay, let's put it on a credit card. Let's, stretch it out a little bit more. It comes straight out of your disbursements. But I'm going to play devil's advocate here. If you are somebody who, there's two ways to look at it. If you are someone that relies on outside Amazon lending, if it comes out of your disbursements, then, potentially you could have a longer period of time where you can capitalize on the money that you've borrowed, as in not paying it back. What I mean by it is if you pay a fixed amount for the money that you borrow. So because if you pay it back really quickly within 3 months, have you maximized the interest period? I mean, I know that's getting a bit, swings and roundabouts kind of thing, but I always like to try and find a positive on something. So you could look at that, but it does come out straight of your disbursements. But it could also work in the other way, because if you are with someone like Payoneer or Sellers Funding or whatever they're called now, they might see it as you're taking longer to pay it back, so therefore they're not going to lend you as much next time round. So that can work both ways in that respect, but otherwise it is going to have an impact. I know that there's some very industrious people in the comments that have said, well, we buy all of our fees, so it's not going to affect us. Well done. You guys win. That's definitely, you're the most resilient people for sure.
I just did the maths, and it's going to be 10K more we're going to have to get for cash flow each month. So it's going to be about £10,000 less cash flow each month. And
so for someone like yourself, like I said, depending on your circumstances, you're already monthly VAT, monthly VAT return.
£30,000.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Imagine that being chalked up, and it is going to have an impact. I don't care who you are. That is going to have an impact for sure. So finding that extra money, which has to be found. It's not like a case you can mitigate it with paying off, different, put it on different credit cards. Like one of our maximum things that we do when we come to pay our shipping bills and our DHL bills and our FedEx bills and things like that, we wait till the last possible day on our terms. Then we put it on the maximum amount of interest-free credit card that we can. So we maximize, that money in the bank as long as possible. But you're not simply going to be able to do that with this, because it comes straight out of disbursements. So Amazon want to get paid straight away.
I know the feeling. I've mentioned before, but what I used to love about Amazon shipping was I used to be able to pay that by Amex. So at the end of the month plus 15 days, so you pay a whole 30 month, 15 days off the next month, and then I could pay on an Amex. But now I've moved to Every. They take it straight from your disbursements. So again, that's tens of thousands of pounds that we have to cash flow now. So it's I feel like our business is being hit like multiple times by this cash flow, and it's
absolutely. Mark says, question is, and this is going back a bit, does Amazon actually want larger sellers? I am actually inclined to agree more with Mark, if that's the sentiment that he's saying. I actually think Amazon loves smaller sellers to a certain extent. They don't want people that are selling like one thing a day, but I don't know if they do want multiple million pound or dollar sellers on Amazon. We know that by what's just happened with the adjustment on the buy box. The competition on the buy box. Jonny, you're someone as a very big seller who a big part of your business is about domination of buy box has been massively affected by the changes over the last couple of months, right? With buy box allocation, essentially.
Yeah. So yeah, our buy box percentage went down 5-10%. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Mm.
But yeah, it's just been quite a big hit for us on Amazon, and currently we probably have our highest stock level ever, and yeah, we're doing our best now to try and sell through our inventory, which is I don't know when to lead on to Shopify and talk about that, and that's why we've been really trying to push our other channels where cash flow is much better. Where Shopify, you get paid, it's in your bank account 2 days after the sale, pretty much. So that's where we're really trying to focus more on eBay and Shopify, just because of that disbursement time with Amazon. For us, we have 10 days after delivery date, and with the every and all sorts of things, then the buy box percentage dropped, so you have less sales there. So yeah, it's been hard work, but we'll get it through. But it's still margins are still good and still very profitable. It's just cash flow, right? And I'm sure everyone's going through that same headache right now, right?
And again, I agree with Mark. I'll come on to Yannick's comment in a minute. If you're a big stock spender, it will catch up. I agree. It definitely will catch up in the long term, because then what's going to happen is if you stick to quarterly VAT returns, then once you hit that first quarterly VAT return, you're going to have a big chunk of extra money in your account, because your VAT bill, well, hopefully this has worked for you, will be lower. So yes, it will catch up, but this is why I say big sellers, it's going to have an immediate impact on their cash flow. So because you're going to get that, it's going to come off of your 14-day billing cycle on Amazon. So they're going to take the money, but you might have to wait 3 months to get it back.
Yeah.
So that's where it's going to have that kind of immediate. So let's talk about Shopify then, and link in with Yanni's question with about every business, because he's asked, how are they taking the money from your Amazon balance? I thought they invoiced you directly, or did he hear that wrong?
Yeah, I think just to quickly touch on previous, I think my best piece of advice is with all these changes, if you have a budget every week, just in the lead up to these changes, so whenever these new VAT changes come in, so say they come in, do you know the date they come into place? Is it next month or
1st of August?
1st of August. So if your budget, say is 10 grand a week in July, whatever you're gonna pay extra, just reduce from that top budget the amount that is needed for that next VAT payment, right? And that's how you should always sort of do it. So sort of plan ahead and reduce from your max budget, and then cut it down by the expected cost of what you're gonna have to eventually pay in a month's time. So I think that's really, really, really important. Like, I wish I did that more for when I moved from Amazon shipping to Every. That would have solved a lot of headaches. But I think that's really important advice, just to ensure you're lowering your budgets before the changes come into place, and not when they come to place. And like we always say, got to be proactive and not reactive, and that's super important for cash flow.
And you guys you've got to, if you're non-VAT registered in particular, you need to update your settings on like SaaS and everything now. And anything that you manage to make between now and that date of the 1st of August, then you just got to see that as a bonus. You've just got to see that as you have to start accounting for this update that's coming into effect now. It's as simple as that. So Yanni just said something else, actually, which I know you said about the budget. So he said, he thought Every invoiced you directly. So they don't, it comes out of your balance. And is there no option to invoice you directly?
There's 2 Every accounts. There's an Every direct account. So that'd be for your volume on eBay, Shopify, TikTok, etc. And then there's a every Amazon account, and that's all entwined with Amazon's by shipping. So it comes straight off your Amazon disbursements. However, the news I've heard from our sales rep is that in July that's changing, and they're going to manage the payments themselves on the Amazon side as well. However, the problem with that is it's still their terms are 10 days on every, so it's still pretty bad, and you can't. I think it's backs payments 10 days on every. So I think what Yanni's saying is the direct every account is off Amazon, but the every Amazon team, whatever they call it, it's on Amazon.
Well,
But
they don't. Maybe they've not figured out the curve card yet. You might get away with using that for a bit. That I always feel like whenever a new payment option opens up, it's like they forget about curve, and you can get away with using curve for a period of time, and then eventually they kind of like cut curve out because they realize what people are doing.
yeah, I mean, every's cheap, but there are definitely some negatives to it. Their return policy, their returns, refund policies are a lot worse than Royal Mail. For instance, the time they take to actually refund you for that missing delivery it's ages. I think it's like 28 days plus some more, and then Royal Mail is pretty much straight away. So yeah, it's cheaper, but again, profits are high, but cash flow is like it's a cash flow killer.
I don't know who has the capacity. I think of every at the moment. Who has the capacity to match them? Because the Royal Mail certainly don't. I know it is going through a stage of it's being sold again, isn't it? It's being sold or bought or something like that. So maybe you might see some modernizations finally coming in to Royal Mail. And from that point of view, because they got to do something drastic, otherwise they are literally being outmaneuvered, and because they didn't make any changes to their system. But I remember a time in my previous distribution business where you wouldn't have even considered using Hermes, which it was at the time, over Royal Mail. But now, if the option comes up, I actually have my packages collected by Every, and I don't pick Royal Mail because it's not even really a competition anymore. But it's funny how something goes full circle, and I wouldn't have even considered, like, I would have, if Every was on fire, I would have stepped over him. No, I wouldn't. But it's that's how bad Hermes used to be compared to Royal Mail. But now it's not even. If anything, I think many people would actually pick Every over Royal Mail.
Yeah. But Royal Mail's still pretty good for international. I think that's where they sort of lead. I believe it's on the international UK to Europe. Large letters, they obviously still dominate, but we don't do any large letters, so that's not too helpful. And they've got probably the best support, I'd say, as well. Every a pretty good support as well. Yeah, it's interesting. So Matt just said about eBay. This is interesting. Removing the ability to purchase with Amex on eBay, so that's going to be annoying as well. Obviously, you can still do it through PayPal, but Matt's also added, but that's a change as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he
So,
did mention to me about that yesterday. So apologies, Matt. I do remember you saying that, but I must have blocked it out.
Yeah.
Happens in marriage, guys. Happens in marriage. You tend to block each other's voices out for sure. So yeah, I think that you're going to see, like, Jonny, do you remember at the Hive meetup back in January, you in particular spoke about businesses streamlining over the next 12 months, looking at all of their processes, looking at their strategies, looking at their margins in particular. And you said this is what big business is going to be doing. So I imagine something like eBay has done exactly that. And they've looked at all of their they've probably, been looking at it for like 6 months. And they've just decided that actually paying that extra fee out to Amex is maybe just not worth it, for the margin that they want to save within their business. So this is something that you're going to see changing quite a bit. And if things return to slightly happier times, they might start reintroducing it again. Or at the same time, it may also be a negotiating ploy. Because didn't Amazon do this? Didn't Amazon say they were going to stop taking Amex or something? And then
Not I'm
they
aware
kind
of.
of give in. Something like that happened. OGs that are watching, Sean will probably, something happened where I think a card company or provider or someone played chicken, or Amazon, sorry, played chicken with them. And I seem to remember Amazon winning, which doesn't surprise me, because of the way that they play. But yeah, someone, can anyone else remember that? I can't remember what it was, whether it was Amex or something. It was a long time ago where they played chicken with one of the big companies and they won. So and there was a big press statement about it. It was quite a big hoo-ha at the time, from what I can remember. So anyway, leading in, Faisal, I'm going to come back and answer your question in a minute when we go, when we finish up talking about Amazon US. But Jonny, talk us through. Matt said, there we go. We think it was Visa.
Yeah.
So
remember
yeah,
this.
yeah, it definitely was something. Yeah, Durangio said Visa. Yeah, I couldn't remember which was. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, guys. I'll be laying awake at night thinking about that tonight. Otherwise, if you hadn't let me know. So talk us through Shopify. So Shopify is something you've been sort of like secret squirreling on for a while, sort of consistent, putting the effort in, putting the workload in. And we're talking, we're not talking months here. We're talking,
Yes.
multiple months, years. And now you think it's finally starting to kind of pay off, right? Well, I mean, it's been paying off for a while.
Definitely has been for the last few days. I haven't posted this, but yesterday we did over 3,000 in sales on Shopify yesterday, which is I need to post that obviously, which is nice. I think half of that, to be honest, was a wholesale order. The stock that we actually needed to over carrying anyway, so that was quite nice. So we just basically put a case pack discount on, and someone ordered like 100 case packs, and it's a 1.5k order with a nice margin, and it's just like that's a nice bit of profit. And for cash flow wise, that £3,000 of sales, I'm going to get that in 2 days, right? I'm going to get that in 2 days, and then because I'm using mostly Amazon shipping now for Shopify, I won't have to pay those shipping rates for another 2-3 months. So it's really good, really good for cash flow.
You can spend that on setting up the US. That $3,000 can go in the US.
It's going to go towards just cash flow. Yeah, we've on another talk, like we've now completely paid off Amazon lending. So I was speaking to Mark Penn about this. We're just completely debt free of third party debt now, which I don't like, because we have such a high stock level. To us to grow, you do need lending of some sort, right? It just you can only bootstrap enough before you want to scale to the next level. And the bootstrapping doesn't grow as aggressively as we want to. So it's going to go into to help with the cash flow. But yeah, Shopify's last 3-4 days, actually, last 2-3 weeks, I've been really working hard on the other channels and really working hard on growing our revenue, because of all the changes. I was like, I got to put a lot of time into my business to grow the revenue. And one thing I kind of realized is that 80% of the sales come from mobiles. So a lot of people who shop, they're all on their mobiles, right, looking through the website. And I just made a few changes really to the homepage just to optimize for mobile, so they can click on add to products straight away rather than seeing a bunch of banners. And our conversion rate pretty much doubled overnight. And we started doing, rather than doing sort of 700, 800 a day, we'd now be doing 1,500 a day. We've been really trying to concentrate on our special offers and advertising those, concentrating on our clearance stock as well. So stuff that is expiring this month, obviously you can't really sell that on Amazon anymore. So we have a proper system in place now to reduce that price every month. So we're not just losing out on any stock, right? Because the worst thing about groceries is that expired stock, which happens a lot. So we have a really good system now. So at least we get most of our money back now through clearance section, and also drives traffic to Shopify. But yeah, that's really the beauty of Shopify for a grocery seller, is that you can sell, obviously, used clearance. You can sell whatever you want, right? Create your own listings. It's as soon as it arrives in the warehouse, it's instantly on Shopify, because it's like Shopify's API is pretty much instant. And yeah, it's just a really great way to, I think, just diversify if you have a warehouse and build your own sort of brand. And I've said this before, when I approach brands now, or start talking to people what I do, I tell them that, like, my store is X, right? And I say, oh yeah, I also sell on Amazon as well. And
Yeah, I think you have to go in like, why wouldn't I? That would be my answer. Why wouldn't I sell on Amazon? Why
yeah,
wouldn't I sell on like the biggest retailer in the world?
yeah. Oh, exactly. It's
Yeah,
if you're a online retailer, and they're like, you're not on Amazon, why?
yeah.
What? The one with the most
No.
traffic? You're not. You're on Amazon? How dare you? But yeah, it's our, our Trustpilot has got to about 160 something reviews now, and we started sponsoring a few gyms as well, which as well. So trying to get our name out there. We have a full-time sort of social media person who's doing posts and email marketing, which is a big driver of traffic. Google Ads is a big driver of traffic, and yeah, I think it's nice. We can keep ourselves sort of 1,500 a day, and start keep increasing that through other means and stuff like that. And then it's going to be a nice, again, just really good for cash flow. To be honest, that's my favorite thing about it, is the cash flow, which I keep talking about it. I mean,
And
it's a lot.
and again, another way to protect yourself should something happen, which your level of account health assurance, you're going to be protected to the maximum level that you can already be on Amazon. But it just gives you that little bit of assurance that if something were to happen, you would have an audience there to be able to at least merge your existing stock, into, especially in the expiring date game, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think another thing that's not really spoken about as well is just keeping your warehouse team busy. I think
Mm.
a busy warehouse is a profitable business, is a profitable warehouse. If the worst thing you have in a warehouse, and I've spoken about this a lot, is your staff not having anything to do. So while Amazon's velocity slows down, that means you're sending less to Amazon, means that you're not getting as many sales, obviously, so you don't have as many merchant fulfilled orders. So to cover that sort of volume, that sort of double revenue of Shopify is really sort of helping right now to get off that, keep people busy, which is super important, and especially during these summer months when things do slow down anyway. Yeah, I think it's just a nice channel to have, and integrates nicely with like TikTok and stuff like that as well, which again, on TikTok's starting to grow a bit as well, which is another cool thing as well. So all the channels combined, you're not just relying on the Amazon Seller Fulfill Prime. Obviously, it's a big driver of revenue, is always going to be, but we have those other channels to really help keep things busy. I like a busy warehouse. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely keeping everyone motivated for sure. Pardeep says Shopify is something we're looking to start, and yeah, it's something that we're going to be covering the Hive. But what I don't want to do with the Hive is knowing the effort and everything that Jonny has put into Shopify to make it out like it's going to be a get rich quick scheme. It's part of something that will come in probably at the latter stages of like Profit Sting, kind of leading as that is finishing and moving into Shopify, purely because we want people to have the information at their fingertips when they're ready to do it. But also at the same time, it's not, because you are generating your own traffic. Now there's some really cool enterprising ways to do it. People have been doing it on TikTok. Scott, who was in the comments earlier, he was on Beyond the Buy Box a few months ago. What he's doing in terms of the way that he's generating traffic towards his own store. So there are ways that you can do it for sure, but it's definitely not a get rich quick scheme. It's not going to be something, I'd be really peeved if anyone thought that we were just trying to say Shopify is the next big thing and you should ditch Amazon to do it. it's a bit of a slog, for sure. But once it starts to pay off, you know, so it's something you could be working on behind the scenes, right?
I think if you have experience with, say, Google Ads, you understand how that works, and you can get a nice little Shopify website and understand the basics of that, you can generate some sales pretty quick, I think. I think it's also that trust factor does take a bit of time, because if someone's researching your brand,
sure.
they're going to go on Trustpilot and be like, oh, where's the
100%.
reviews? Where's the actual? How can I trust this supplier? So that's the thing. Once you get over that little hump, I think then it's quite a solid piece of income. But yeah, it's difficult, right? It's more like traditional business where, you know, with us selling on Amazon, we're not really doing too much sales, are we? It's not, sorry, as in like we're not selling. Like Amazon get all the sales for you, right? They do all the marketing. On Shopify, it's completely different, where you're the one who's having to create those sales, right? You know, for instance, we had someone email in 2 days ago. This is the wholesale order and request a trade account. We helped them out, spoke to them on the phone, and then got this big £1,600 sale yesterday for
Right.
obviously there's that. We're having to get that sale, and they're going to have to find us and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
Do you think anyone's rebuying your stuff to resell it?
Oh yeah, there's probably selling on Amazon.
Yeah. I thought so.
Yeah.
For
That's
sure.
fine.
But you don't
That's
get
fine.
upset about it, right?
No, it's fine. It's
No,
fine.
I'd love it. I'd love it if I found out like a reseller was selling our stuff. It's like I never get the whole drop shipping to eBay thing when people get upset about it. I'm like, well, they're buying it from you. So, you know, and you get more sales juice. So it's definitely worth doing for sure. So let's have a quick look. Party said, I want to change my company name to make it more appealing to create a website for the company name on Amazon, changing the company name. But you can call yourself whatever you want. You can trade as whatever you want, right? Maybe I've not understood that right. I'm not sure.
I have to look into it. This is he's selling from India to America.
Oh no,
right?
sorry. This is Pardeep. So on the Facebook, you're looking on the
Yeah. Look at
YouTube.
two
Sorry.
screens, don't you?
Yeah, looking at the two streams. So that's that, and then I'll come back to Faisal's question in a moment about how to get. Well, it's actually really easy. So, how to get brand registration from one country to another without an LLC? Yes, of course, it's possible. You can use any trademark from any country to be able to apply for brand registry. You just cannot enforce stuff if you are not using the trademark from the country of origin. Okay, so I can use a UK one in the US. But I just couldn't like pursue anyone for a violation of intellectual property rights or something like that. So yeah, that's super easy. Global selling in India to USA, we do not need an LLC. No, that means we can only sell products in generic because I think it's the same question, just worded differently. So yeah, you can utilize any trade as long as it's a legitimate trademark. It doesn't matter where it's registered in the world. So yes, you don't need an LLC to be able to do that for sure.
Yeah, with
So hopefully
Pardeep's
that
question.
answers that question. And going back to Pardeep's question, yeah.
Yeah, you can use whatever trading name you like, right? As long as the DOM is available, I'm pretty sure you can just use that for your store, right? I don't think there's any problems with that. Yeah.
Yeah, unless we've misunderstood you, Pardeep, you can call yourself whatever you want. You don't need to have it connected. You don't need to have it the same. So yeah, just let us know if we've got that wrong, because from our point of view, I wouldn't have an issue trading as anything else. I've got a little moth jumping around in front of me. So yeah, let us know if that's not the case. So just as the final part, because we are heading into we were late, so we're not 20 minutes over, we're only a few minutes over. We just, for anyone that's thinking about selling in the US, We are actually running a little training session on it. It is separate to the Hive before anybody asks, because it's something that's completely different to what is not covered in the Hive. So we are currently in the process of starting to run that. It's not something we're screaming and shouting about. It's not something that we're doing full-on big webinars about or anything like that, because it really does have to suit you. You have to be in the right position, in my opinion, for you to be able to embark on this. So, I mean, the ideal criteria for people for looking to start in the US is definitely not a new seller. You have to be someone that is, already operating in the UK. Ideally, well, most definitely at VAT registration level and beyond. So it is something that is just not going to suit anyone that's in the newer part or the growth period of their current business, because you want to be able to utilize the two platforms to be able to give you the maximum level of protection. Now, it doesn't mean you need to be doing 7 figures a year, but it does mean that if you are someone in your business that you're maybe stagnating a little bit, and maybe there needs to be a big push, like Jonny was talking about, like an extra level of lending. So, this is a conversation that is a good time to think about, okay, before I go and do this big push in the UK, should I maybe be looking up and opening in a different marketplace? So, but there are lots of caveats. There's lots of different things involved. So what I'm actually saying is, if you are interested in exploring that, then drop me a DM, drop me a private message, and then I can fill you in on some further details. Because, like I said, I don't want to go into that whole webinar thing, because, if we had 100 people sign up to the webinar, probably only 25% of those people it would be suitable for anyway. So it's a bit like dangling a carrot in front of people's faces and then a slap in the face and turning around saying, sorry guys, not for you. But again, I'm happy to talk about it. It's definitely an extra incentive, to be able and to motivate. But also, don't not contact me. So what I would say, if you think, oh, okay, I don't think I am suitable, drop me a message, tell me a little bit about where you are in your business, and I'll let you know whether I think you're suitable. But just because I say it doesn't mean that that's like, legit. I will give people the option to make up their minds. So I just like to give people all of the information, if that makes sense, of course. So, no, Pardeep said you answered it correctly. So that's good. So if you're thinking about setting up and selling in the US, drop me a message, and we can look into that for you. I will be posting about it in the group for the rest of the week. But it's one of those things that, like I said, you do have to be at the right point in your business to be able to do it, because the growth is very quick, and it can throw people off kilter a little bit, to be perfectly honest. That's why we're offering an additional extra support group for this. Yeah. So just in case anyone was wondering why it's not in the Hive, it's a very different selling model. And yes, there needs to be different
I'm trying
support
out as well. You convinced me to start doing it. So
I know, finally, I've convinced Jonny to start doing it for sure. So watch out, USA. Jonny Smith's on the case.
Big boys over there.
Yeah. I know, USA domination for sure. So just drop me a DM, and more than happy to talk through anyone that wants to discuss it. So thank you for your patience today, guys. I know we were a bit late on, but that was my issue. So as not setting myself up right, I genuinely felt Jonny's disdain when he was like, have you set it up right? And I was like, yes, I have. And then I realized I hadn't. So but there we are. It's done now, and it's set up right. So from next week, we should be live on YouTube and also on Facebook as well, and we will keep you updated, what we're going to be talking about. But I do have a guest next week. I've actually got guests for the next few weeks, until I'm back on holiday again, and then Jonny's away. Actually, you're on holiday away before me.
End of June. Yeah,
end of June
for a week.
Yeah, we
actual
go
holiday, not travels. Holiday, which is a
Where
first.
are you going, by the way?
Ibiza.
Ooh. Get yourself down to Manumission.
I don't. Yeah, interesting.
It will be for sure. Yeah. Matt's parents go to Ibiza. They love it. but they're
Yeah.
definitely not down the San Antonio Strip for sure. Just if you ever want some interesting stories, anyone, just message Matt Cromie about the time he went to Ibiza when he was 18. Just ask him. He's going to be, what the hell are you telling people? But yeah, well, have a good time. That will be good. But I don't think we're going to see you before then on Beyond the Buy Box, but you're back on the Hive Live with us tonight anyway as well, which is good. But yes, next week, I'm really excited. I'm really excited because she's been our most requested guest. I think whenever we've put out shouts for anyone that comes on, Cindy Jackson is going to be joining us on Beyond the Buy Box next week. So it's finally happening, guys. Cindy, who is, yeah, absolutely. Cindy, who is so helpful in the communities and works so hard, really helping other sellers. So I finally managed to persuade her. She's going to be joining us next week. And she's going to be talking about creating additional income streams off of the back of her Amazon experience. So that's going to be really interesting for anyone that's maybe thinking about branching out from actually Amazon selling and heading down all this. I always say this, you guys are learning so much experience, find a way to monetize it. And Cindy certainly did. So we're going to be talking about that next week, which I'm really excited about. So yeah, we'll be live on YouTube and Facebook, and that will be 1 o'clock this time next week.
Oh, yeah, I'll be tuning in.
Yeah, good. Dumbledore, aka Cindy, absolutely. Yeah, Rosie says that. Finally, Pat says counting down the days. I know, I'm going to really big her up, so like hundreds of people are there. And no, I'm sorry, Cindy, I'm not, because she's going to be. I know, bless her, she's going to be nervous. It's taken a while, but everyone's lovely here, so it's not going to be an issue. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. So have a great week, guys. Keep your heads up. I know it feels like everything's against us as Amazon sellers at the moment. I really do believe that, but there's always seasons in selling on Amazon. There are times when it feels easy. There are times when it feels, hard, but it does even it out. And overall, it is worth it. So please do keep it up, because it really can bring a lot more benefits than it can disadvantages. So keep your peckers up. I will see you next week. Any questions, pop them in the group, and have a great week, guys.
Thank you, everyone.